Exactly. My good friend Tavaz Omkwe has actually done a book called Exit Your Excuses. Today I'm doing Excuse Your Excuses. I want to actually look at 7 excuses that are actually sabotaging yourself. And one of the things that we want to notice, Weekendy, is how much we're armed with the excuses. Generally, we're always looking for reasons why we can explain why we are where we are. And a number of times we can even accustom ourselves to actually justifying why we're where we are. And that becomes an excuse. One of the things that we need to encourage people, if you want to grow, you need to learn to give up your excuses. But if you want to stay where you are, Vikendi, you need to defend your excuses. That's why one of the things that I usually ask people is, what do you want to do in life? Someone will tell you that. Then the next question is, why are you not doing it? The next thing that I'm going to find are actually excuses. I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have that. So what I want to do today, I want to look at these 7 things that I think are affecting many people. These are 7 excuses, and I hope many of us were not going to be guilty of that. But obviously, if you're guilty of it, I want you to be able to introspect and change. Remember the conversation we had last time, weekend, about human beings that were a creature of habits. Meaning, if you accustom yourself, if you develop a habit where you're constantly making excuses, you're going to be seldom rare to succeed in anything because you're already operating at this level. So, what are some of the excuses? Number one, I don't have time. Why is someone not doing their studies? Why is someone not doing that qualification? Why is someone not doing X, Y, Z? The explanation, I don't have time. And I want you to notice one thing. You will never actually have time, but this is what happens. You need to learn to create time. That's
To manage your time.
Exactly.
Time management is a real thing.
Create your time. And once you create your time, it does actually help you. So if you ask me, are you free? The answer is no. I'm not free weekend. Are you free next week? That's the wrong question for me. Can you create time next week? I can hear you. Why? Because you actually have to learn to create time. And remember the conversation we had last time weekend that no one is actually very busy. People simply prioritize. Meaning if something is very important for you weekend, you will definitely prioritize it. So I deliberately prioritize this slot. So I know every Wednesday about 20 minutes that I need to set aside for shouldering the arm. And this is my way of also giving back to the country. Why? Because I value this. If I can't be here physically, you know what we do. Why? Because I value this. And I want you to remember this weekend, we all have 168 hours every week. And how you use your 168 hours determines where you end up in life. Which means a number of times when we're saying, I don't have time, we actually need to come back and ask ourselves, how am I using my 168 hours? And out of the 168 hours, how have I usefully and productively used my 168 hours? Which is why we need to get to a point where we understand that in life, what you actually need is not necessarily time management. I've actually done a book on time management. But what you actually need to work on is life management, because time is life. And this is the point that we want many people to actually get to understand, that you can actually be busy making excuses that I don't have time. You can be busy and not necessarily productive. So we need to shift our conversations from being busy to productive. Yes, you've been busy, but what have you produced?
So you can be in motion and not having
Exactly.
any action.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can actually be in motion but not going anywhere. Remember, a number of people, they are having a rocking chair mentality. So you appear as if you're moving. But if you're actually going to be very honest and very candid, you are moving in one place. That's why we talked last time about experience, that it's very important to distinguish repetition and experience. That can be doing the very same thing, but there is no meaningful growth. There is no real change that can actually be seen. So we need to help each other to get away from how we are obviously saying we don't have time. I usually give people this simple example. Those who watch soccer, I don't watch soccer personally. A soccer match is 90 minutes. That's 1 hour 30 minutes weekend. Not mentioning the times Zema heartbreaks and so forth, where you usually complain about a coach you never met, where you complain about the referee that you're saying, hey, blah, 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 we've been cheated and so forth. If you can create 1 hour 30 minutes for soccer, I think you can actually create time for anything else that is important for you. So, anyone who's saying, I don't have time, I want you to look at how are you using your 168 hours. And I want you to be able to identify the things that you need to change.
So what's taking my time?
What's taking your time? Go ahead and put the hashtag, where's your time going? And I want you to notice one thing, Vikendi. If you want to see the things that you love, and if you want to see the things that you're passionate about, look at the things that take your time. So 2 things to measure your passion. Number 1, look at where you invest your time. And number 2, look at where you invest your money. Those are the things that are truly important. So if you're always constantly wondering what is truly important in my life, look at number 1, the things that are taking your time. Number 2, the things that are actually taking your money. Those are very important indicators as to the things that are on your heart. So that's the first excuse that many people are actually having. So I've been trying to encourage people to develop personally. In that, my focus really is on personal growth. But this is one of the things that you constantly hear. But I want you to imagine for a moment, Vikendi, if you're sleeping 9 hours every day, I want you to remove just one. And I want you to start doing something different. Read a book before you sleep. Read your Bible before you sleep. Go on that platform, that page, that podcast. Listen to something that inspires you every day. And I want you to look at how your life changes gradually. So growth and time, these two things are connected. So you can actually be growing in terms of yours, but if you're not growing in terms of your physical, emotional, financial, all those other facets that make up the wheel of life, you're not really growing. And that's why we need to be very proactive, Vikendi, when it comes to managing our time. So the first excuse, I don't have time. Deal with it. Why? No one is coming, Vikendi, to fix your life for you. That's why I wrote that book. No one is coming. So you better collect yourself and you better fix your life because no one is coming to do that for you. What's the next common excuse, Vikendi, is I don't have enough knowledge. And one of the things that we want to encourage people, Vikendi, we live in times that are so exciting. Now, the times are even shocking. Why? Because there's something called artificial intelligence that's fast coming, where machines are doing some things that are shocking. But now we're operating in a generation and a time where so much information, Vikendi, is at our disposal. Meaning, if you want to learn a new skill right now, be it cooking, be it baking, be it grilling,
graphic designing,
dudes, babe, you can do it. Why? There is Google. Right now, do you know any skill that you want to learn, you can go on YouTube and you find a tutorial for that for free. The same amount of data you're using watching my celebrities making nonsense and making some bogus lives, the very same amount of data is enough and will suffice to help you grow. Meaning you simply have a priority problem where you're putting your time, putting your resources, meaning you have no explanation for ignorance. I didn't say go and get a degree. I'm saying it's even better if you get a degree. But I'm saying at an elementary level, there's so much information, Vikendi, at your disposal. Right now, any skill that you need to master, any technique that you need to master, anything that you want to understand, go on YouTube. Subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, it's still okay. Spend a few minutes learning certain things. And once you learn those things, guess what? It does actually help you. I learned PowerPoint on my own. I never sat down in class to learn how to do PowerPoint. My work revolves around PowerPoint, by the way. And I literally had to sit down through tutorials and say, okay, how can you make striking presentations? How can you improve yourself? How can you improve your skills? How do you improve your public speaking skills? For example, if you want to be in this space, how can you be a better communicator? And these are all things that are in the public domain. They are available. And last time I even made a point, Vikendi. If you want to learn right now, Google is offering free courses and a certificate. LinkedIn is offering free courses and a university.
Yes.
Exactly. Is even offering certificate. The United Nations, UN. No, I did some work for them, these guys. One of the agencies. And one of the things that they actually say, it's mandatory for you to comply with certain courses before you do anything for them. And I realize anyone can actually do them for free.
What's stopping us?
What's stopping you? That's your excuse.
Yes, yeah.
Which is why, if you want to invest the time, Viken, in justifying your excuses, you are going to remain at the same place.
I think important questions to ask ourselves, like at the end of each day, how have I grown? What have I learned today? So at the end of each week, what have I learned? How have I grown? What new knowledge have I acquired? I think it's very, very important.
So true.
Yeah.
So, and most importantly, Vikendi, is realizing that you need to have the courage to confront yourself. A number of us, we don't have the courage to confront ourselves. We don't. We are always looking for the easy conversations. We don't want the difficult conversations, Vikendi. But when it comes to growing your life, developing your life, there are two things. You can either be lying to yourself, or you can have the courage to tell yourself that what I'm doing is nonsense. And this is the level where people need to get to understand what I'm doing currently is nonsense. It's not making sense. And if something is not making sense and you confront it for what it is, meaning it's nonsense, you confront it and you give yourself the power to change it. You can't change anything that makes sense in your life. And I want you to understand that. As long as what you're telling yourself every day is making sense, Vikendi, you're giving up the power to change it. But the moment what you're doing is not making sense and you confront that reality, you give yourself power and you empower yourself to actually say, I need to change this. So number one, give up the explanation that I don't have time, because you do actually have time. Number two, give up the explanation that I don't know, because Ignorance in this generation, in this age, in this time, is a choice. You know, the people who went to the moon in 1969, Vikendi, they were using a computer with 65 kilobytes memory size, traveling a distance of 388,000 kilometers at a speed of 27 kilometers per second to escape Earth's gravitational pull. In 1969, no amazing technology, no iPhone, no Samsung, no nothing, no some of these fake brands. None of those things, but they were using a machine with 65 kilobytes memory size. Imagine the amount of technology that's in your pocket. Phone yako Vikendi. What are you using it for?
The guys were determined.
Exactly. How on earth do you have an HD phone? Phone 3 plates. Yaurkushandisa just to take my pictures serious in HD. We need to get this level, Vikendi, where we're deliberate and intentional and serious. That you can't just have a phone for display. It's a business tool. Use it as a business tool. And once you use it as a business tool, guess what? It will empower you. It will change you. That's why, if you're not careful, you can actually be rombe, relate technology mwongwe, and you don't even know what to do with it. What's your excuse, Vikendi? Why? Why are you where you are? What's your excuse? Number 3, the common excuse is I'm lacking motivation. I tell people, Vikendi, I'm not a motivational speaker. Number 1, at most, I'm a lawyer who happens to speak. But if you want to give me a title, I'm a transformational speaker. Why? I don't believe in motivating people. I believe in transformational conversations. A number of people, Vikendi, they are waking up every day to look up for motivation. People who are successful, they don't look for motivation. You don't need motivation. You need something called discipline. And discipline is much more important than motivation. Motivation, by simple definition, simply means motive to act. So once that motive goes, we're finished. Which means we need to be able to develop sufficient discipline, which is going to push us even when the motivation is long gone. Why? Because motivation is temporal. You can be excited, you can be all fired up. But what's going to take you the extra mile, Vikendi, is the ability to be disciplined. How important is that particular goal in your life? And once you realize that the goal that you want to achieve in your life is very important, Vikendi, you also need to realize that it's not going to push itself. You are the one who is going to push it. That's why you don't need to wait for someone to tell you can do it. No, you don't. You know, as a matter of fact, Team Irukumba Kwangu, I told everyone who is in tertiary education right now, I'm not going to tell you read. Now, up to now, ask anyone. I've never told any single person in my place to read. No, I don't. Why? I've had a conversation with them on discipline. I've had a conversation with them on something called self-motivation, self-drive. That's something on the inside Vikendi has to push you. And that something is going to inspire and create discipline. And once it creates discipline, guess what happens? Habits are developed.
Yeah.
And you know what the habit does? It creates patterns of behavior that become normal by virtue of repetition. So you don't need motivation. I want you to collect yourself, Vikendi. You know, you see, a number of us right now, we don't have the luxury, Vikendi. A number of us were dealing in a number of us were first generation wealth builders. And jokes. A number of us were so obsessed with a fake life. And we forget the reality of where we're coming from. And forget the reality of there is not even inheritance. Exactly. Somebody, shumba. So which chihuahua?
Yeah.
Na sporty. They're different.
They're different.
What's chasing you? So what's chasing you, Vikendi, is sufficient motivation if you want motivation. Where you're coming from, that's sufficient motivation. That should be motivation. I don't want to go back. And none of my children should ever experience this. And the next generation has to know that should be sufficient motivation for you to say, I'm actually going to do things. Not could you wake up every day and say, I don't feel inspired. No, I don't feel, I come here every time. Sometimes I'm not even inspired. I do this. Why? Because discipline. I force myself.
Yeah.
I raise myself. I challenge myself. Arthur, we have work to do. Whether things are happening or not, we have work to do.
And with discipline, you don't have to do everything at the same time. Start from somewhere. Start eliminating some bad habits and incorporating some good ones. Step by step, day by day, being intentional.
So true. And you bring a fundamental point, Vikendi, on consistency. The power of consistency. What will change your life, Vikendi, is not necessarily one huge step. It's even better if you make that step. But I want you to know one thing. Sometimes you need to build on the power of small, consistent steps. Learning every day before you close the day, ask yourself, what's the one small step that I've done today that have drawn me closer to who I want to become. I was telling someone, Vikendi, I think I'm a better communicator. But every day, do you know I go out for speaking exercises every day?
Wow.
Up to now, I do it every day. I listen to these conversations after the show. Why? I want to say, okay, how can I improve? So I don't get carried away with the comment and say, oh, that was powerful. No, that's okay. Thank you so much. But I'm always constantly challenging myself, Vikendi. How can I do better? How can I do more? How can I improve? How can this be different? And the moment we begin to do that, I take my small, consistent steps. You don't buy success, Vikendi. You pay for success. There's no shop where you go and buy, but you pay. But how do you pay? Sometimes it's doing the things that the ordinary eye cannot see. It's going that extra mile when everyone is sleeping. It's going that extra mile when people are choosing this particular route. And that's why people need to build on the power of small, consistent steps.
Got a message here. Thank you so much. Andy Rotanga saw free course Life Management, and they sent me a link.
Well done.
Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course. Well done.
Amazing.
Yes.
This is why I was saying, Vikendi, in this day and age, not changing your life is a choice. Changing your life is also a choice. How you want your life, Vikendi, is a choice. That's why you have no excuse, absolutely. What's the other excuse? Excuse number 4. We don't have time. I'm not ready yet. Can I tell you one thing? Procrastination is one of the things that's going to kill our generation. Brilliant ideas. You will never be ready.
Perfect timing.
Never perfect time. 90% of the times that I go on stage, I will not be ready. I prepare. But sometimes I feel I'm not ready. But guess what? I have to do it. And because I've been investing the small, consistent steps, and I've been doing it, and now I'm combining it with the preparation, I constantly remind myself that sometimes you need to get started, get moving, whether you are ready or not. Get off your comfort seat. Step into the discomfort zone, Vikendi. Begin to do things. Why? Because there is never going to be a perfect time for you to start. There is never going to be a perfect time for you to do that particular thing. I want you to do it. Sometimes, if you wait for the conditions to be perfect, you never do anything. That's why one verse says, the farmer who waits for the perfect conditions, who never saw anything. So, even if things are not appearing to be favorable, I want you, Vikendi, to make that step. Sow that seed. Take that step of faith. Why? Because you'll never be ready. Excuse number 5. What's Temida Opera? Some people say I should have started this earlier when I was younger. You're the right age. That's my response.
Always wasted time.
You are the right age. Don't waste time complaining about wasted time. In fact, it's a waste of time complaining about wasted time. So don't waste any further time. Collect yourself, Vikendi. The time is now. Do it. And one of the excuses, I'm too young, I'm too old. No, you're not too young, you're not too old. I met one lady, 70-something years of age. She says, Arthur, I want to enroll for law school. And I said, go for it. She's saying, no one can employ me at 70. But I'm going to do it. I'm saying, do it. And last excuse, we're so much worried about what people are going to think. Sure, whether you do it or not, people will still talk. And by the way, you don't have control about what people say. Just do it. Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? Just
excuse your excuses.
Excuse them and just do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Advocate Arthur Marara. What a powerful session. How can people get in touch with you?
I'm on social media. It's Arthur Marara on all social media platforms. If you want to be part of our WhatsApp groups, 078 0055 152 078 0055 152. I'm in Chinoy today, so please let's meet at the Chinoy University of Technology. I'll be speaking there from 12 o'clock.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Arthur. Star FM sounding good all the time. I am V Candy. It is 10 o'clock. Time for the news.
This is Zim Papers Radio.